Hello and welcome to another episode of Property-Pxrn Stars, the premium property podcast, brought to you by your hosts David Lindley
and Matt Giggs.
And today we're joined in the studio by our guest, our star, is none other than Ian Storey of Storeys of Cheshire, whose soon to be two office business has taken the premium market there by storm. Not only is his journey particularly interesting, but also the way he approaches the business, his market and the customers is really, really interesting. We've been chatting before the show today and I think you're going to get so much value out of it. So, Ian, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for asking me.
Good to see you in person.
I know, yeah, strange.
It's the social media world we live in. It's like you've met them before, but you haven't actually met them before.
So let's kick straight off then, shall we? So Ian, what I wanted to dive into really, because your whole story, dare I say it, is available on other podcasts. You're on the Watkin sofa recently and gone through all that. That's not what we want to go through today. What we're particularly interested in is providing value for estate agents who are either in or looking to be in the premium property market. So where I'd like to start with, if it's okay, is the point in time when you made the decision to, I suppose, open Storeys, but then also why you chose the premium market to be the market of choice. What was going on in your world at that point in time? How did you make that decision?
So we relocated from near Blackpool in the northwest, which is where I'm from, to a lovely part of rural Cheshire, which is where my wife is from. We just made the decision to move for lifestyle reasons, really, to raise our kids there rather than up on the far coast, and we felt it was the right thing to do. At that time, we were running the company in Blackpool, near Blackpool still. So I was commuting 3 days a week. We had a team there, and there was no idea initially to start a new company at all in Cheshire.
What, so you're going to continue commuting back up?
Yes.
Right.
And then my in-laws asked me to sell their house. They had a lovely house, you know, the right sort of fit for what we now do. Obviously I said yes. We marketed it under the Blackpool brand. And the buyers that we had coming through quite quickly made me think, I should be doing this here. I don't know why I hadn't thought of it before, really, but so we started the company extremely quickly because I wanted that house under that brand. So we got the branding done very quickly, set up a right move account, all those sort of things that you do. We did it all really quickly so that we could market my in-laws' home under the Storeys umbrella. Yeah. And then as part of that, I'd seen in other areas of the country, because by then, I think even 10 years ago, I don't think the agents across the country were as well connected as they are now on social media, and you didn't see as much as you do now. And I'd seen other agents in other areas of the country who were selling these nicer, higher-end homes, and suddenly I was in an area that had a lot of these types of properties, and I thought, well, if I'm going to have any opportunity at all to create a company that sells the nicer properties, now is the time, because it was a completely fresh slate. So we had no reputation at all because we weren't known by anyone. So it wasn't like I had a company where I was selling the lower end and I was trying to get into the higher end. I had a completely fresh slate where we could do what we wanted. Yeah. Financially, to a degree, I could do what I wanted as well because I had a business already that was paying for that. Yeah. So I didn't really need Storeys to make a profit at all in the first year, 2 years. So we, from day one, really, maybe day two, decided to be selective. I didn't really know what that meant at first. I just knew that I didn't want to sell not very nice houses because I'd done that for so long.
I was going to say, talk to me about when you say selective, what does that mean?
So that means actively turning away properties that you don't want to sell.
In terms of the property's fit or the motivation of the vendor? Or
property fit.
Right, okay.
Only, really, initially.
And what is the right property then? Talk to me about that.
The right property is something that inspires me to really want to, put my heart and soul into creating amazing marketing and to deliver a really high-end service to the client. But it's a property that needs to inspire me initially. That's where it came from.
And that's quite a subjective thing. That's not an objective price point. Okay, it fits, we're at X category. No.
I've always had a love for the built environment. So I used to do landscape design, garden design, landscape architecture. I did a little bit of building surveying, but not for very long. So I've always enjoyed the built environments. I've always had a love for, we used to tour stately homes as kids with my parents and stuff like that. So I've always had a personal love for it, for nicer homes. It's hard to give you a different answer, David, other than homes that inspired me.
No, that's all right.
And I've just passed that down to the team who've never worked in a estate agency before working for me. And it's sort of rubbed off on them, really. So we don't really have a prescribed type.
But they get it as well now.
They get it because they're part of the team, and they've got the right fit to be in the team.
So go back to that time then. So you got the first property, which is your in-laws property, right?
Yes.
And this is the one, so you're getting up and running really quickly, so you can get that one on the market and out and away.
Yes, it was already on the market with my other brand.
Right.
I think we might even have already sold it. I just wanted it on Rightmove and board up.
Yes.
Stories.
So this is the one that you can use as your springboard to market.
So it's that led on to number 2, and then we went from there.
So how did you do that then? Because I suppose that's the hard part, isn't it? Is getting the plane off the ground, getting off the runway, getting past your first 1 or 2 listings. So how did you do that then? What did that look like?
So I door knocked.
Yeah.
I did a lot of door knocking in the first 12 months. I did a lot of Chris Watkin's vendor farming videos where you stand outside other agents' houses telling them that worked really, really well. So that got a really good following on Facebook quite early on. It was mainly door knocking, and I put myself all over Facebook. So I pimped my personal Facebook account, and I still do, because as we all know, way better organic reach on personal posts than on business posts. So I grew it really using Facebook. And a bit of door knocking.
So that's so interesting for the premium market, isn't it? Because we'll get onto this maybe later, but there's the social media. You've built a premium estate agency brand on social media.
Yes.
That's almost like unbelievable, winding the clock by not that long.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
yeah.
I remember I had a look at some of our interactions on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, funnily enough, and I think it's October 2018. I think you must have just...
That was when we were incorporated, October 2018.
There you go. And you were talking about community. Tell me a little bit more about that as part of your launch strategy.
Yes, so I learned that off Chris and a few other people in the industry. And I really understood, as soon as I heard it, I understood how important it is to build a community of people who know, like, and trust you on social media. And still now, most estate agents don't get it. They're just salesy. But I really understood how if people know you before you go, or they feel like we did, that you know the person before they walk into the living room and that you trust them because they like the same sort of things that you like, then that's going to give you a far easier ride with converting them into a client.
Well, just quickly though, you sort of said just then, and you're quite right, a lot of estate agents don't necessarily adopt that principle. Why do you think it is? Were you ever dubious about that, or were you kind of like, well, no, this is...
No, as soon as I first heard it, I understood it straight away. Why don't a lot of agents do it? I think that they don't understand, maybe. I don't know why else you wouldn't do it. The thing about having your face in front of the camera on social media as well is a big turn-off for most people. Yeah. And I know
most people don't like their own voices, let alone the visual side as well.
Yeah, but I've never really given well, I don't want to swear. Give a fuck about that at all. Yeah. It is what it is, isn't it? You do look like that, and you do sound like that.
Get over it.
Get over it. So from very early on, I didn't care about that side of it. I suppose that's probably part of it as well, with getting in front of the camera and interviewing the butcher and the baker and the candlestick maker.
I think, because how much is it really about you?
Well, of course, it's not about you at all, is it? It's just about them.
That's leap, isn't it? It's like, actually, if I really believe in what I do, what I give, and value the end outcome, that's the bit to really focus on. So I just think for a lot of agents who will be watching this, you leapt straight into it. You detach yourself away from that emotion of fear and what are people going to think of me, which, you know, is something that crosses all of our minds.
Yeah, it's real, yeah.
It's a real one, but you understood why you were doing it in the first place.
I did, yeah. I also think people, so we've grown it on Facebook, mainly on Facebook. We do use Instagram more now, but it's mainly growing it on Facebook. And I've hardly paid anything at all in ad spend to Facebook. Probably less than £1,000 in 4 years. Probably much less than that, actually. Yeah, just on personal pages.
So I'm really interested in your strategy. You made the decision, you went out and did it, but just to go tactical for a moment, if I may. So you said about door knocking, and you said about the videos in front of houses. Just talk to me a little bit about the detail, in kind of the gritty detail for those that are listening, that, okay, that's something I might be interested in doing. What is the best practice for those two things?
So would you like me to tell you how I physically, what physically goes into the process of doing it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, sure. So, by the way I look at things is that people shared it with me, so I should share it on. So, in terms of standing outside other agents' houses, it seems so alien to most people, but you are aligning yourself with that property, whether you're selling it or not. So I would find a nice £1 million or £800,000 house that I thought I would love to be selling this house if I could. I'd take a tripod with my iPhone. I'd go and stand in front of it with the fluffy little mic on that I became known for. And I would say how amazing this house is and how they should call the agent to book a viewing immediately. And then I would give them the agent's details in the Facebook post. Dead straightforward, takes a few minutes. Bang it out on Facebook, didn't put any ad spend behind, just did it on my personal page. I made sure that I connected quite quickly with people locally who had been there their whole lives, have grown up there, so when they shared it. And early on, I had to ask people to share it, so I would put it out and then I would privately message them and say, oh mate, could you just share that post for me? And then he'd share it, and then suddenly you become quite well known quite quickly. And I should do that now, really. Going into a new area, if anyone's going into a new area, that's definitely one strategy you should adopt.
And to ask the obvious question on that, aren't you building up another estate agency's business brand by doing that?
Potentially to a degree, but how else do you get your name out there without going in and saying you'll sell it for free and doing silly cheap fees? I don't know how else. It's very difficult to get yourself in the door when you're completely unknown.
Yes.
And you're building trust by doing that as well. So people look at you as a trusted advisor rather than a salesman.
Yeah, there's no sort of commission breath coming across there, is there?
No, nothing at all.
And what about the door knocking
Door
element?
knocking. Well, again, you need to be a certain type of character to just go and knock on the door. But I did. And then there's loads of different strategies. Lots of different people have lots of different strategies about door knocking. But I think if you just straight with people and you just say, hello, I'm Ian Storey. You've got a lovely house on the market. How's it going? Can I help? I didn't try and use any clever strategy. I just said, can we help? Can we have a coffee? 80% of people said no. 20% of people said yes. The first first two or three all came off door knocking. As we all know, a second-hand listing is normally better because you can get a price reduction, higher fee. So it worked.
Yeah.
It worked well.
Isn't it funny that so much of that is kind of about getting over fear? Like the fear of being on camera, the fear of knocking on someone's door and have a conversation with them, because they don't sound like they should be scary, but they are. They are scary things, aren't
they? Yeah, they are. Yeah, so much of it is mindset, isn't it?
Yeah.
So much of it, the whole thing is mindset and just belief in yourself.
And so let's give some context then. So take on the first few properties, and just to give context then, what rough price range of properties are we talking about here? Because when we say the premium market, that's a massively varied kettle of fish up and down the country, isn't it?
So a premium home for us, price-wise now, in the area we're in, after the recent increases, is 1.25.
Yeah, that's about where it sits in the middle.
A million is probably average, just over $1 million for a premium home.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you define that?
And how far down the market? I suppose up you probably go as more or less as high as
generally as high as you can, but where we are, the highest really, you get the odd one that's over 2 million, but the highest generally is 1.75 to 2.
Okay.
And there aren't that many of those. The bulk of them sit between 1.25, 1.75.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The first house, just to answer your earlier part of your question, the first house we sold, my in-laws' house, was 600,000.
Yeah.
This was in 2018, so of course now that'd be 758, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So the first house we sold was 600, then we sold one at 400, one at 550. Okay. It was that kind of range initially. But for me, coming from where I came from...
What was the average house price?
The average house price I was selling before we moved was 130 grand.
Just on that point, if you don't mind me just stealing in with this, but a lot of people that we speak to at the moment have got a core brand, which is probably more synonymous to 2-3 bedroom homes in their core marketplace. How did you kind of get your head around going from that market, which you were obviously in for some time, to then leaping into the market that you're in now?
I think it comes back to mindset. I've always been extremely thick-skinned and not really cared what anyone thinks and just gone for what I wanted to go for. So I think it's mindset. I always credit Perry Power. Yeah. I learned an awful lot from Perry early on, and he really gave me the mindset. Where I come from, there's no talk of 2% fees. Yeah. Just does not happen where I came from. So I learned a lot from Perry, sort of 2018-ish, around the time that we started the business, and he gave me definitely quite a bit of confidence in that area and strategy of how to sell to those nice of the higher end.
Just again, was there a little bit of doubt? Was there a little bit of, geez, am I doing the right thing here?
Yes, everyone told. So both our families were told us we were mad. What are you doing? You've got a business that's making money. What are you doing? Thinking about moving?
We talk to people with core brand, and they're like, it's a bit of a step, and so on and so forth.
We moved area completely. Maybe that makes it easier. I don't know, but when we moved, our families told us not. We didn't sell our house for a year. We rented on the advice of parents. Don't sell straight away. Yeah, rent just in case. So we rented, and then we did it a year later. But we were certainly advised not to do it, and certainly not to sell the business, and not, because it's too raw. But I just give it a go, and if you're confident in what you do, don't you? You know you'll make it work.
But what I also like there is, a shout out to Property-Pxrn as well, is it sounds to me like you not only believed in yourself, but you believed in learning a bit more.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, Sally Lawson...
Because your fees were very different, weren't they, between the two businesses?
It's miles apart. So our average fee was, I don't know, 1,200 quid.
And then it became an average fee of
10 now.
So for agents that are sitting there in that marketplace thinking of how to increase fees, getting into the premium market is something that we talk about a lot, but it does come with its challenges.
Of course, yeah.
What were some of your earlier challenges?
Well, we were completely unknown. So the earliest challenge we had was convincing people that
you were the ones.
You were worth a go, yeah. So I think we probably did 4 properties at 1%.
Okay, just to get your brand in.
Just to get some pedigree, yeah. And then we just upped it overnight. Another person I always credit is Chris Kiriakou.
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
I've not spoken to Chris for a long time, but he said to me at that time, you're better off charging 2% than 1.25, because at 2, you're giving the vendor a reason to say, why are you double?
Do you know, it's such a good point. And it's, again, one of the things that I think a lot of agents are starting to talk about now with regards to being that bigger difference.
Yes.
Rather than being close to the market, close to the average.
Yeah.
Actually, if you're close to the average, you're just going to be in the average,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you might as well use Joe Blogg's.
It's really great advice.
It's a great point, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's still a leap. It's still a leap. But it's mindset. So much of it is mindset. A lot of agents ask me for advice on Facebook or whatever. What should I do? And all I can ever say to them is, you've just got to do it.
Yeah.
You've just got to do it because...
Well, I've just been to Australia and I've spent 3 weeks out there, and the one biggest takeaway I've kind of come back with from meeting some of the top agents in that country was, you just got to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, how much of it can be spoken about as opposed to, you just got to get on and put yourself into those uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, you do.
And be out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Sorry to labour this point, but it's so true of our mindset, and so many people delay.
Yes.
Taking action because of the fear.
They do.
They created.
I learned a lot from Australian agents as well. So they're more well known now, aren't they? John McGrath, Tom Panos, Josh Fegan, etc. But they're fantastic in the way they do things.
They're no different in some respects.
Of course,
it's just they've gone and done it.
Of course, I mean, and it's a different way. It's a different way there, isn't it? As well, the fees are higher on average anyway, and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
So go back to when you were building the business up then. So you're taking on the first few, slightly lower fee rate so that you are getting your name out there, getting yourself out there. And these are, you said these sort of £400,000, £600,000?
Yeah, so they weren't, so we did, my in-laws house was a really lovely house, cottage type house on a big plot. The second one was just an executive, early noughties executive detached. The next one was another character cottage. But I always made sure that whatever it was, it had to be presented correctly, and that I was able to style it before the photographs happened. Yeah. Whatever it was.
So kind of let's dive into that then. So what do you do then? So you've talked about how you have to sort of take control of it, inspires you, and then the styling of it. What do you do that then when someone says, okay, so why are you? And are you 2% now? Is that your
2% plus VAT we charge? And I think we come out on average with 1.98.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No.
So how does that manifest itself? And then when they ask the question, so what do you do for your 2% then? What are the kind of things that you do to differentiate yourself?
I still find that most clients they either don't know, they've got an idea sometimes that you're more expensive before you walk in the door because their friends have said, oh, they're expensive. But quite a lot of them don't know exactly what the fee is. So I generally speaking, I tend to find they don't ask the fee until you've had a chance to sit in front of them and present. Normally, we don't get many people at all call us and ask what our fee is. We had to turn away far more properties in the early days than we do now. So people just don't call us now. I think they know that they're not the right fit for us. So we hardly get any that we turn away now, which is great. So by the time they ask what the fee is or we have the fee conversation, we've normally had a chance to talk them through our full proposal as to what we do. So we do lots of different things that just separate us from other people. So we've always done block viewings, for example. I know a few agents did that a bit during the pandemic, but most of them have slipped back now to the older ways. Yeah. So we always do block viewings. We've heavily used WhatsApp since the start, so people love that. We have a WhatsApp group for every client and for every buyer. Video is a huge thing that sets us apart. So we've done a video for every house since we launched, whatever the house is. And I can't recommend that highly enough. If you're in an area where no one's doing video like we were and still are really, then doing video is a great way to differentiate yourself. And we were chatting before with Simon, and he was saying, how a certain generation of people are still extremely amazed that you can do a video of their house and put it on the internet that everyone can see. It's still a thing. You know, if you're dealing with the lower end houses, it's maybe a bit different because people are used to filming themselves and sticking it on Instagram.
I totally agree with that. I mean, when we launched Gigs back in 2012, I was taking professional photographs of every house that we listed.
Yes.
Because the presentation was more important than anything
Absolutely,
else.
yeah.
And because that was our thing, you believe in it, you back it, you understand the way it works for your customers, getting them to, I'd be moving rugs out, taking down net curtains and all sorts of things. Because you're really demonstrating what you believe and fundamentally is going to be different to helping them to get to their outcome.
Yes.
And I think you really connect.
I think it's also being able to explain why you do certain things. So we have people trying to copy us now, of course. Yeah. You're always going to get that flattery. But they don't know why they're doing it quite often. So they're doing it because we're doing it and we're doing really well. But they can't explain why it's beneficial to the clients. So it's being able to explain why you do what you do as well as just doing it.
And are the videos presenter-led? Is it you?
Yeah, presenter-led, always presenter-led. So it's always been me, but recently Phil, who now works in the team, is doing some of his own as well, which is great. Always presenter-led, always professionally produced. So I've always outsourced as much as I can, everything. So photos, floor plans. It might sound obvious to some agents, but certainly in the area that I came from, I think half of them still do their own floor plans on Metro-Px, you know. So we outsource as much as we can, but we've always had pro photo, pro video as standard. And you still get some agents that don't you? Or you get agents who, they do pro photos, but they don't style the home first. So they'll send in the photographer by themselves instead of you sending in. So part of our proposal is we have a stylist within the team, Vicky, who will go out and meet with them and talk them through, you know, how to lay it out. That sort of thing.
Was there ever a point when you were growing the business where you might have needed an instruction or something came wrong which wasn't quite the right fit and you thought, oh, maybe I should, I shouldn't? And how do you manage that, and how do you manage the properties that come to you that aren't quite the right fit? Talk about that.
So I've definitely taken on some that I shouldn't have taken on. I mean, I'm an estate agent through and through, really. And if I see a listing that I think I can sell, so much of me just wants to put it on so I can sell it. But I've really had to train myself to not do that. And I'm the worst out of the entire company for that. The other guys who've all joined, they're far better than me at turning stuff away. So the odd ones that we've taken on, some of them we got away with because it was, well, we all know what 2020 to 2022 was like. It was ridiculous, wasn't it? You could put it on and sell it 5 times over in a week. So quite a few of the ones where we'd done that, we took it off our website, we took it off Rightmove in some cases when we'd sold it, we took the board down, but we'd sold it, but we removed any trace of it.
Because you wanted to protect.
Because I wanted to protect the brand, I really struggled for quite a long time. There were some that were borderline that we shouldn't have listed, but we did. Because also when it's your business, you've also got one eye on commercial cash flow and turnover and paying the bills, haven't you? But we're much better than we used to be now. And as I said, a lot of those people don't call us anyway now because they don't think we're the right fit.
Yeah, they understand where the brand sits in the market.
But it goes against, like we were talking about before we arrived, it's going against the way estate agents generally operate. It's I want to list everything I can. I want to win everything at all costs.
Yeah.
What you're saying is there's more you've detached yourself away from that mindset and you've centered in on who I want to work with, what kind of properties I want to be selling, the easier it's become to be known for that in the marketplace.
Yes.
Sounds obvious to us, and I was talking to Simon, like you say, earlier on, but it's something I think people should think about a lot more.
Definitely, yeah. They either need to change their existing. I mean, in some cases, it's easier just to start a new brand, isn't it? Yeah. Because trying to turn an oil tank around is very hard, isn't it, to do? Yeah. So in many cases, they're just better off starting a new brand, a new premium brand, than they are. And I know many agents who've done that and who've been successful with it. I didn't need to do that, so. But I think we've got quite a good brand stretch, which I don't think is always that easy to achieve. No. So we don't sell anything rubbish at the bottom end, for want of a better term. But we've got a good, we can sell a £500,000 executive home and we can still sell an attractor at 1.5. Yeah. Because the 500 ones are really well presented and very well marketed. And so I think you can have a bit of brand stretch to a degree.
And so strategically then, why did, and maybe this sounds like an obvious question, but I actually don't think it is. What, you had the choice, you had a completely blank canvas for Storeys when you started it. Why did you choose? You could have gone very low end resident market, you could have gone kind of middle market, and you've gone for the premium. Why did you choose that?
I find that question difficult to answer. I just wanted to. And I wanted to, and I realised it's higher profit margin. Because if you can sell a house at £1 million on 2%, and you can sell a house at 100 grand on 2%, then you do the math, as the saying goes. So obviously I have one eye on profit, but I just think it's more of an enjoyable way to spend your working week. If you're selling houses, it's nicer selling houses that are 800 grand with an acre than it is that are 2-bed rented houses.
Because you have experience all the way up and down the market, don't you? From
sorry, I cut in there.
No. Well, I think you were going to answer the question that I was going to fumble around and try and ask, which was about the different businesses that you've been involved in, especially when it came to starting up Storeys as well. And there was iMove, is that right? Which was a almost complete opposite end of the spectrum, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I've had 3. This is my 3rd business. So I worked for David Tinsley, Lytham Estate Agents, who's brilliant, still going. Got a lot of inspiration from David. Started a company with a colleague from there. We were a high street estate agent. Signs in the window, charge 1%, take the photos, just a sort of standard model, if you will. And then 2015, when did Purple-Brick start?
Probably just a little bit before that.
2014, I think.
Okay, so it was at that time I thought that's the way it's going to go. So I thought I'll start a brand that does it that way. So we started iMove, which was fixed fees, high volume fixed fees. We had something like 75 sold STC and 150 on the market at one point. I remember thinking, this is fucking brilliant. This is what I wanted. And now I think, Jesus.
Because it creates an awful lot of stress and challenges, right?
Mental. I mean,
so we're chasing around trying to win as many instructions as we can.
Crazy.
You're creating, especially in the market that we're in, where there are less houses selling in 4-6 weeks than there probably was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got now this level of customer expectations building over here. And we want to keep just doing that, keep going in that place. So, like you say, you really came away from that.
Well, it was around that time that I did Perry's course, and I learned a lot more and got a lot more confidence. And I tried to turn iMove into that. I tried to turn iMove away from low
Which
fixed
was
fee.
already, it's fixed in there.
So I said to everyone, we should charge 1.25%. The team, we should go for these nice. And really, iMove was completely the wrong brand to deliver that. It's all very well me going out and doing it, but expecting the team to go out and represent that brand and charge that.
How big was your team then?
Fee 7 or 8. Yeah, I look back now, it's horrendous.
Well, it's good learning though, isn't
Of course, great learning, but I'm glad I learned it.
But you've experienced the traditional middle market. You've
Yeah.
experienced the low end, low service,
Yeah.
low fee,
That's
whatever
right.
it might be. And now you're in the premium market,
Yes.
and I presume that's where you're happiest.
Yes. Oh, definitely, yeah.
He looks happy anyway, that's the thing.
It's great, yeah, it's great. It's
You
brilliant.
can tell
Yeah,
that a mile away. But
it's good.
But going back to the team, so we were talking about the team numbers, and you said something earlier, and I think I'd heard this before as well, that you don't employ estate agents, or at least prior history in estate agencies. So talk to me about that.
So I've always had this thing that, and I've learned as I've gone along really, that they bring baggage, and it's quite often not their fault at all. They've been trained a certain way by another company, and they bring that way of working with them. So the first 3 people we employed at Storeys, none of them had experience, and it really made me realise how fantastic that is, because they're just doing it my way, and that's all they've ever known. So Phil now, who's doing well, and Aidan who does it, and Vicky. With Nicholas just joined the team. None of them have any experience at all. We employed a girl last year who did have experience, and it didn't work out, and I ended the relationship. She was for what she did, she was fantastic, but just not my way, and it reinforced to me that I'm not going to do that again.
How do you find them? How do you pick them then?
Because how did you attract them?
Well, we've got because of how we've grown things on Facebook, we've got a really good
Following.
network and a great following, great community.
Yeah.
So we're looking for a new viewing specialist currently. So I put a Facebook post out. It gets shared 25 times. Local people comment on it. Oh, Storeys looking for. We've got a really good rep locally. So that's how we recruit. We're not paying anyone to recruit at all. So far, we've just done it on Facebook.
So how do you know them? So you've got a good pool to fish in.
Yes.
But then how do you know them? How do you know they're right? When I know you're always going to get the odd one wrong, but
Yes.
generally speaking, you got more right than wrong with knowing
Yeah, we
who's
have.
going to be good at the job. What
Yeah.
qualities do you look for?
So we look for people who are people who appear to be, I don't know, I don't want to sound like a cliche, but honest, no bullshit.
Yeah.
I quite like people who are maybe not too old, you know, and not too young, somewhere in the middle. You can't say that, can you, when you're interviewing people? But I don't know how else to explain it, really. I think you just get the right feeling. Yeah. I've always had quite a good nose for that, for people. Yeah. And I think you just get the feel.
And so I think...
And I've always, sorry to interrupt, before we move on, I've always subscribed to the philosophy that you've got to do it and then see if it works. And if it doesn't work, you cut it early.
Yeah.
Rather than taking too long to hire.
Yeah. And so staying on the similar theme, you've talked about how I think you've done most of the valuing up until now, but now there's another team member. Phil. Yeah. So how he's obviously, dare I say, indoctrinated in the Storeys way of doing things, but to go out and ask 2% is a big ask for most people in the industry, I think. So what's Phil been told? How does he
Well, think? all he's ever known is that it's 2%.
So in some ways, it's an advantage.
Yeah, it's a massive advantage. To him, what we do is the best you can get in our patch.
Yeah. So he really believes in where he is. And
massively.
Right.
Because the team is everything. The team is superb. Yes. They really, the culture is a big word, a word that's used a lot now, isn't it? But the culture really is very good. Yeah. They've really got each other's backs.
How big's your team? What's the composition of it?
4 permanent now in the office. And then we have me and my wife and then viewing specialists on top who just do viewings. Yeah.
And are they employed?
No, they're contracted.
They're contracted.
Yeah, they're just 0 hours contracts. Nice. And again, we attract people really well to those roles because of the houses you sell. You get the right kind of person, probably retired or semi-retired, who just wants to go and look around nice, and they're really good.
Yeah, makes sense.
So Phil, to Phil, because obviously I talk about Phil quite a lot, but it's only because he's our first valuer that I brought in. But to him, he did 18 months, 16 months of not doing valuing. So he did 16 months in the office. Yeah, learning how it all works. Started doing negotiating quite early on, so he took on loads of the negotiating. So when he started going out doing the listing, he knew all the back end business already and believed in it. He knew why we were worth what we were worth.
Yeah, it's interesting, that isn't it?
I think there'll be a lot of people watching this who might not be in the premium market, who are listening to your example of I move, sorry. And they're listening to that kind of story around chasing and hunting and taking and all of that kind of stuff. And they're tired. They're drained. They look at Ian, he looks like he's just got off of, he looks like he just arrived back from holiday, nice and relaxed. And this is, it's such a big thing, right? For you to enjoy what you do, to love what you do, to really connect with what you do. I think must be quite a big part of your success, because I think people can feel that energy when they're dealing with someone.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I definitely really love what I do.
Yeah, it comes across in your videos. One of the reasons why we reached out to you is because we're talking about the premium market, the prime market, and that changes all around the country in terms of it's very difficult to put a price band on it, but you get a sense of it. And I think what like I said, there's going to be a lot of people watching this thinking, how do I get to that decision? How do I move myself into that place? What would be your, let's go for 3 bits of advice for people to consider maybe retaining what they've already got, but going into that higher end market?
You need to know you've got the market that can
it's there already,
sustain
exists.
it. Yeah. I forget what the stats are, but within a certain mile radius of wherever you are, there's a certain amount of houses over 500,000. I think most people can do it if they want to, but you need to know the market's there. The last thing I'm going to say, by the way, is that you just need to fucking do it. If you want to do it, you've just got to do it. And the second, I can't think of a number 2. Do you ask me the question again?
So just really, what bits of advice would you give to maybe your old self, someone like that, who's in that position where you're hunting and gathering and trying to do what you can to please everybody, and actually you're getting a bit tired, exhausted, you're looking up, you're seeing people like Ian's story. There's certainly other examples around the country where they've gone, do you know what, I'm moving into this market because it's better for me, it's what I feel inspired by.
Yeah. So I wish I'd done it earlier, first of all. Yeah. I'm 42 this year.
You're not.
Hell of a moisturising regime.
I wish I'd done it earlier. I think what I would do is try and envisage what it will look and feel like if you were in that position.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. Ryan Serhant talked about being your future self now.
Yes.
So almost like that's where you want to be.
Yeah, so Royston Guest always talks about working back from your goals.
Yes.
I forget how he words it, but work from your goals rather than to your goals or something like that. Yeah. So decide what you want in the future and then work back from it.
And a lot of that's visualization.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's really trying to think how you will feel when you've achieved it. But you've ultimately, Matt, you've just got to do it if you want to do it, and see how it goes. And if you've got a business that's like I had, if you've got a business that's providing you with a lifestyle already, then
I think that
there's not much risk, is there really?
Well, exactly. And it depends on the lifestyle that you want as well.
Yeah.
What time of life you're in.
Yeah.
How much more you want to be doing in that rat race compared to. There are less, I think, competitors in the higher end.
Yeah, there definitely is. Yeah.
And you're competing for higher fees.
You are, and
higher expectations.
But much easier to get a higher fee on an expensive house than on a low-end house all day long. Yeah. There are so many gaps in the market because in so many different areas in the country, people go to Savills or Jackson Stops automatically because they think they need to. So if you're in an area like that, that's a golden opportunity to start doing it.
Why?
Because you can be the local higher end agent, whereas Savills, Jackson Stops are the international nameless higher end agent. You can be the local agent that lives in the town.
Completely get that, and you're connectable, you're relatable, you know the area, you know you've got the knowledge.
Yeah.
Sort of collaboration's a big thing we talk about, especially in the higher end, and we've been talking about it over lunch earlier. Do you collaborate much with those agents?
No.
You don't? It's all sole agency?
Yeah, I've never done a dual agency.
Okay.
No, we actually did one. I tell a lie, we did one, but it was outside of the area where we cover.
Okay.
Yeah, just because it was an equestrian house and I wanted it on the website.
Right.
But other than that, we wouldn't do dual agency ever.
Okay. It's interesting.
Just come back to pick up a point that we were talking about there. So in launching Storeys, you had a business that was sort of paying the bill, so to speak, that allowed you to go into the premium market. How important was that in your decision making to go up market?
Do you mean the fact that I had an income already?
Yeah.
It was big. Yeah. Looking back.
Yeah.
Because I had no risk really. If it didn't work, well, I already had a business that you can't take your eye off the ball, can you? Obviously, but yes, that was a big factor. I never really thought of it like that before. Yeah,
because a lot of the businesses that we speak to, they have what we call a core brand estate agency, residential, sales, lettings, and then the premium market is an additional market that they can get into, but they have the, so to say, bills paid in the same position that you are, slightly different setup, that enables the, I don't know, you call it kind of the springboard to get into that market.
Yes, you're getting a lot more agents now, aren't you, setting up a premium brand alongside their existing brand, So,
So, change subject completely, talk to me about the van.
So that's another idea of Perry's. So the van, we bought a van in 2020, and do you know what? The more I think about it at the minute, I wonder if it's actually quite right now that we've moved even higher up, because I think clients at that level probably don't borrow a van, do they? They get it all done for them.
Yeah, I get that.
However, it did work really well. Other agents have copied us now, and I don't promote it anymore. And part of the reason I don't promote it is because I think it maybe doesn't fit quite right with the client.
It's really interesting brand positioning, isn't it?
Yeah, but it worked brilliantly. So we just bought a van for 10 grand and had it wrapped in Storeys, free, not free. I didn't like the word free. Complimentary use for clients on moving day. Yeah. And I parked it on various high streets in various villages around the area. Got loads of people complaining because I was blocking the view of the fucking chippy or whatever it was. But it worked really well because it was all over Facebook. Yeah. Storeys van. It was either negative or positive, but it was definitely all over Facebook.
Yeah, you couldn't avoid it.
No, and then now we just let it out. And to be honest, David, I absolutely love having a van. I love being a white van man for the day.
Yeah.
You know, I'm out the window.
Yeah.
Copy the sun on the dash.
In the dash,
I don't smoke, but if I do.
It's like your double life.
Yeah.
You know. Brilliant.
It brings top off whistling at me.
Who's the Story? Never heard of him.
Yeah.
Do you want a van? I can imagine you with a van.
Oh, I'd love a van.
Yeah, it is great having a van. We used it the other day too. It's great having a van. I don't keep it at my house. Keep it at the car park back there.
Yeah.
It's great having a van. Yeah.
What would
it
you
brings
need
up an
now
interesting.
God, sorry, I was going to say, what would you get now for the higher end market?
Well, I don't know. I think really.
What are we talking
they get
about
the guys
now?
in, don't they?
Yeah.
But that's a really interesting point, though. So, and to tie up a thread that we were talking about here. So, have you you found yourself moving up the market gradually? Because you started talking about £4,000, £5,000, £100,000 homes, and then there's the van. Now we're talking about million plus.
Yeah, we've definitely moved up in that time.
Is that? I was going to say, is that by design? But is that intentional that you started and moved up, or if you had the time again, would you go, I'm going straight up here, or how?
No, it happened organically. I think to a degree you have to earn your stripes.
Yeah.
If you're completely unknown,
you
have to earn your stripes. So the first £1 million plus home that we sold was in North Wales. Right. So where it was about 45 minutes from my house. So, and I got it on LinkedIn. Again, it was a social media thing. A guy said, give this guy, I've seen his videos. And she was with Savills for 3 years, having a nightmare. We got some decorators in, had it painted, styled it all. And I drove, for every viewing, an hour and a half round trip. But I knew that if I sold it at 1.25, it gives you that story. Yeah, it gives you the story of being able to sell homes at that level. Yeah. And we did another couple there, but then the bulk of them now are all right near where we live. But it gave us a showcase property, didn't it? We've sold this house at this price point. Yeah. And it was a beautiful house. And houses in North Wales are not easy to sell at that price point. Right. But we did it, and it gave us pedigree.
And again, just talking tactically, what kind of things did you do off the back of that? You got it sold, you got the sold board there. What did you do to shout about that success?
Well, it was all across Facebook. Again, we did it all across Facebook. I used it on valuation appointments. If I was on a valuation appointment, I would mention it to people to see if they had other people they knew who were looking to sell, and just word of mouth, but mainly just Facebook.
It's so interesting, isn't it? And we've talked today so much about online, socials, Facebook. Just to change the story completely, how much of your marketing, either property presentation or your marketing of your brand, is done offline through things like print today?
So since 2020, we've used Sam Ashdown, Phil Jones for our letter content. So we've done quite a lot of handwritten envelope posted letters to homes that are either on the market or off market.
The nom letters.
The nom and the om. Yeah. And that's done really well for us, to be fair. It's got us into the doors of stuff that we wouldn't have got into otherwise. So it's a hard question to answer because I don't really spend anything on advertising at all other than on those letters, because everything we do on social is organic.
Do you do things like property brochures, particulars,
that
sort of stuff?
We do property brochures for pretty much everything that we sell. So we have 2 marketing plans. One includes the brochure and everything else. One doesn't include the brochure. So we get the odd home that we bring on where it might be a 700 grand new build, doesn't need a brochure, but you might have a 500 grand grade 2 listed thatched cottage that does.
Do you still find an appetite
people
for brochures?
Love it.
Or the vendors or the buyers?
The vendors love it. Yeah. Buyers do as well, but the vendors love it. Yeah, because the story within it is written by a copywriter and them.
Okay. Yeah.
So they love it. Yeah, because it's differentiated as well.
Yeah. And you said there's sort of 2 marketing packages. Are they pitched at different, not price points, but fee levels,
the fee's the fee?
The fee's the fee.
Yeah. It's just I was finding that we were doing brochures for everything, and really I was probably throwing away 300 or 400 quid on some houses because they just didn't need them. Yeah. And people are so impressed with what you do anyway, you don't need the brochure element. Yeah. So we took it out and have 2 marketing plans, but the fee's the same.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And you're in Cheshire. You got an instruction in Lincolnshire. How's that come about?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So we had a client legend, a guy called Steve Donnelly, who he was on with Savills. Another one. We've had quite a few of Savills. He was on with Savills and Jackson Stops, I think. Joint agency, grade 2 listed converted schoolhouse in a village near Tarpley where we've just opened an office. Struggling to sell it. He viewed one with me. I got in the door of his, managed to get it off Savills, get it on with us. And it went really, really well because that was not an easy house. It was one of these grade 2 listed ones where you got 2 staircases to access the 2 bedrooms either side, and not for everyone. 2 acres of garden, that sort of thing. But we managed to sell it. We had a really good relationship, kept in touch. He moved to Lincolnshire. He's now moving away from Lincolnshire, and he rang me and said, would you sell it for me? And I said, yeah, of course. And it's 850 grand, stone cottage. So we all went over one day. I drove everyone over for the day. We had a day out in Lincolnshire.
And then you'd have your sort of semi-outsourced viewings assistant that take care of it?
No, Steve's doing the viewings.
Right, okay.
Because I wouldn't do it for every client because generally speaking, we do all the viewings, but he's brilliant and he'll be fine. He's very business headed. Yeah. So he's doing the viewings. Although I'm thinking of doing a collaboration with an agent I know around there. Yeah. Because it needs a bit more interest in it.
Gotcha. But you're strategic expansion, if you like, not the odd one in Lincolnshire, is into Tarpley.
Yeah, so we started in Northwich just because I live in a village called Davenham, which is one of the nice villages around Northwich. So we grew well there, and then we naturally, as I've lived there, the longer I've lived there, the more I've realised that Tarpley is, perfect for us. So we've sold a few houses there, but because we're a Northwich postcode, there's a bit of snobbery. The agents in Tarpley wouldn't want to, and I'm sure you get that in other areas in the country as well. Well, you do, don't you? So I've always had the idea of opening an office in Tarpley. One came up on the high street above the two main agents in the town. So we took it. So we've got the keys today.
And when we talk about offices, are we talking high street, liveried, window card offices?
No, definitely not. So I would never do that because it ties you to a location. I don't want to be tied. Although I want to be known for being in Tarpley, weirdly, I don't want to be the only, how can I put it? If you have an office in a town or a village, you're basically tied to that village, I think. And it's hard to spread your wings a bit further. Whereas now, if we've got an office in Tarpley, which is 15 minutes south of where we are already, we can then cover a much wider area further south from there as well.
Yeah.
So I don't want a shop. Also, I've been a traditional estate agent for too long, and it's a fucking nightmare, isn't it, being in a shop, as we all know, because you've got people coming in a long time, wasting your time, in my opinion, not really looking to buy or sell. And I think we're much better for the client if we don't have a shop.
And it's your model.
You don't need a shop, do you?
No,
I mean, you don't need a shop. I've always said if I wanted to dominate one particular town, I probably would have a shop of swanky looking, fine and country type looking, establishment, or by design type looking establishment.
Yeah,
sorry.
Of course. That's all right.
But you know what I mean? I probably will, but it doesn't work for me.
I think it really does boil back down to what you're trying to achieve. What do you believe in? And fundamentally, that's what what really makes a business work.
Well, for me, the most important thing is the team and how the team work. So their team are going to work much better in a serviced office than they are in a shop where they're getting interrupted every 5 minutes.
Yeah. When we opened in 2012, it was high service, not high street. That was my approach to it. I'd rather find the best people to come and join the team than worry about paying the bills on the high street.
And I think there was definitely a time we went through where people would be worried if you didn't have a shop. No one ever asks now.
No.
Never get anyone says, have you got a shop?
It seems to me to be within the last 3 or 4 years that's completely changed. Like it's gone off the agenda for almost everyone I talk to having high street offices. So it was a bit of a leading question because it doesn't come up anymore.
No, it doesn't come up anymore. People don't ask me if you're on Rightmove. I remember the time people used to say, do you, which websites are you on? No one ever asks that ever. I think they know, because we've become well known, they know we're good at what we do. They don't need to ask those.
How interesting is that? So it's not necessarily an assumption that you're good, therefore you must be on Rightmove. It's just you get results, and that's what they're interested in.
Yes. They never ever ask if you're on Rightmove or if you've got a shop.
That's so interesting, isn't it?
But yes, it is interesting.
Right, well, you've been let off easy so far, but we do have a bit of a closing tradition.
We do.
I always forget how we work it out. So the name of the podcast is Property Porn Stars because you are the star of the property porn in Cheshire.
Yeah.
But everyone has a porn star name whether they know it or not.
Oh, right, yes. I know what mine is.
Do you?
Yes.
So I've forgotten what the trick is to get it out of you.
Is that right? And your
Let's go with that.
maiden name?
You seem quite confident in what it is.
We'll go with that.
No, come on. What were you going to say?
Go on.
No, you seem quite confident in what it is.
We're happy with that. No, the mother's maiden name's a good one as well.
Is that not what you were going to say?
We've gone middle name.
We went middle name. And
I don't have a middle name.
First pet.
Oh, there you go. Mother's maiden name and first pet. Go for it.
In that order.
Go the other way.
Fiver Silkstone.
Say it again. Do you say Fiver?
Fiver, yeah.
You had a pet called Fiver?
Yeah, because the rabbit in...
Cost a Fiver.
What's the film called with rabbits in?
Oh, God. Thumper.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What's it called? What's the film called?
A Disney one.
Watership Down.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh, no, it's the different one.
There's a rabbit in it called Fiver.
Oh, right, okay. So Fiver.
That's why.
That's lovely.
Fiver Silkstone.
See, that's pretty good, actually. You've still got the number one spot, but that's a close
Why? What's Matt's?
Utterly ridiculous.
Kevin Tiny.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That is good.
There's no topping that, is there?
I don't think you'd be a very good porn star, would you, with that name?
I've had so many films, definitely.
Well, on that particular high note, we'll end it there. Ian, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
today.
very much.
I just want to say, well done, mate. You've done brilliant. I've kept a real close eye on your
Yeah, thank
journey
you,
over the
Matt.
last 5 years, and it's been fantastic to see. So congratulations.
Thank you, mate.
Absolutely, absolutely awesome to see. And I think that Ian kind of embodies why we've started this podcast,
Yes,
really, is to
we're learning.
encourage more estate agents to move up market. For all the reasons it's
Absolutely.
been so successful for your business, it could be so successful for so many others across the country. And I suppose our job here is to bring the best and brightest from around the country in the premium market to share their knowledge, and that's what you've done in Space today. So Ian, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ian. And it's really important for anyone who's watching this, who's following someone that they think would be a great guest, just let us know, because we want to invite the best of the best and people that you're inspired by to come and sit here like Ian's done today.
And if you enjoyed it, then like, subscribe, follow, all those good things, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.